Moon Runner. When Mina joins a new school, she quickly becomes fellow friends with Ruth, Elena, and Sammy. But things begin to change once track tryouts start. Mina suddenly discovers that she is a fast runner. Everyone is surprised, especially Ruth. Ruth has always been one of the best athletes at school, but during a track tryout race, she and Mina tie for first place. Secretly, Mina knows that she is a faster runner than Ruth. Rather than hurt Ruth's feelings, Mina loses another tryout race deliberately. Now the girls know their friendship is in trouble. They sit outside of Ruth's house eating chips and drinking lemonade. As Mina sat down in the lawn chair, she wished it was still the day the fellow friends had welcomed her into the group. Little brown birds hopped along the branches of the walnut tree. Did they ever get jealous or scared? She wanted to hide from Ruth, covering her face with a glass of lemonade. Instead, she said, "Ruth, do you think—" She paused, not knowing how to put it. "Do you think the fellow friends group is falling apart?" Ruth looked up from her glass. "Why do you ask that?" Mina shrugged and forced herself to go on. "Well, you and Sammy play alone a lot now. And Elena and I do too." "Yeah, I noticed." Ruth flicked a leaf off her forearm. "This started when track started." Ruth stared into her empty glass, as though studying the flecks of lemon pulp that clung to the sides. Would she keep on staring into the glass, or set it down and leave? The conversation might end and never start up again. Mina had to keep talking. "I've never run before, at least not in races or with anyone timing me," she said. "I didn't mean to tie you in the race. I didn't know I could." "It wasn't your fault," Ruth said. "But it still made you mad." "Yeah, sometimes." Mina put down her glass and then picked it up again, needing something to hold on to. "But I didn't mean to tie you." "Don't apologize." A bird landed on the other side of the table. It cocked its head, first to one side, then another, eyeing the bag of chips. "Just one nibble, please. Just a nibble." Ruth reached into the bag and tossed a chip toward the bird. It began to tug at it, trying to break off a bite. Two more flew down to help. "You came out of nowhere and ran as fast as me," Ruth said. "I've worked all my life to be good at sports. I practice soccer 3 times a week, and here you come." "But it's okay. Really, it's okay." Mina felt like one of those tiny birds, out on the end of the branch, but with no wings. Yet she had to continue. "In the tryouts, I tried to run slower." "I know you did, and that was even worse. You know, Mina, when athletes compete, it's not fair if someone doesn't try their hardest. You made me feel like I didn't really win, or like at any time you could surprise me and beat me, and I won't know what hit me. I didn't know what else to do." "Yeah, I knew you lost on purpose because we're friends. A real athlete wouldn't have done that." "But I'm not a real athlete," said Mina. "I'm a girly girl." Ruth laughed so loudly that the birds flew off. "You're one fast girly girl." Ruth's laughter made Mina laugh too. Then she interlocked her fingers and looked down into the tight ball her hands made. She sighed and looked up. "I just want to be a fellow friend." Ruth threw another chip to lure the birds back before turning to Mina. She squinted and screwed up her face against the bright sun. "It's too late. You're already more than a friend." "What do you mean?" "A friend is a friend. I've got lots. But there's not a lot of people I can race against." She paused. "I got an idea. I want to know something. Let's go over to the park right now and race." Mina's legs suddenly felt as though they needed braces. She wondered if Wilma Rudolph had ever felt this weak. And yet there was no escaping this race. "If you don't race, we'll never know if you can beat me. and I'll never be able to think of myself as the fastest. Okay, Mina said slowly. I'll race you. Ruth held out her hands, the fingertips salty and greasy from the chips, ready for the fellow friend's handshake. The park was just down the street from Ruth's house. As they walked, Mina thought of how the Chinese Moon Festival was the special time to celebrate friendship. If only it were fall instead of spring. If only she could just offer Ruth a simple mooncake. When they reached the spread of green grass, Ruth headed to the olive tree with a patch of bare dirt underneath. Let's run from that pine tree over there to here. She marked a line with her toe. That's about 50 meters. Mina nodded. Would it really be okay to win? She followed Ruth to the pine, where she marked a second line. Ruth leaned into the tree trunk and stretched one leg behind her, bouncing to the heel. Not wanting to copy Ruth, Mina bent over to touch her toes. Hey guys! Ruth called two small boys crossing the grass. She cupped her hands around her mouth. Can you help us with our race? The boys came closer, one in a striped t-shirt, the other wearing a purple baseball cap turned backwards. Ruth beckoned to the one in the cap. You stand here, she pointed to the start line she'd drawn. You'll count down for us, she pointed to the other line by the olive tree. You're over there, she told the other boy. Watch who puts their foot across the line first. Watch closely, because the race could be close. Mina suddenly wished Ruth would offer another fellow friend's handshake, but Ruth was busy wiping her palms on her shorts. The boy counted, 3, 2, 1, and then shouted, Go! Mina plunged forward, shoving hard against the dirt with her toes. All her holding back vanished. She was off. But the next moment, as though a whisper of wind had crossed her path, she found herself slowing. Like in the tryouts when she had fallen behind on purpose. Way behind. That had felt awful. She'd won once. It was time to win again. At that moment, the world felt silent. The air filled with the smell of orange blossoms, a thick haze of sweetness. The sunshine cascaded lovely and soft around her head and shoulders. The tiniest breeze laughed at her as she ran. There was all the time in the world to complete the short distance between her and the tree. She didn't turn her head to look, but Mina knew that Ruth was running beside her. They ran like African antelopes they'd seen in the movies, loping over a yellow plain, beneath trees with flat horizontal branches. One gigantic leap took Mina sailing high and forward over the line. The leap carried her past the boy in the striped shirt. The silence broke. You won! Shouted the boy, pointing at Mina. She glanced down at herself. Then, even though her breath was coming in great heaving gulps, she looked at Ruth. Ruth was leaning over, her hands on her knees, breathing hard. Finally, she lifted her face and managed to smile. The boys wandered off, and Mina and Ruth lay on the grass, cradled in a large nest of miniature white flowers. Their breathing calmed into the same rhythm. The sun was still up, but Mina noticed a crisp crescent in the sky. For the next 2 weeks, it would grow until it reached a night of complete fullness. Mina closed her eyes. She was glad she'd run against Ruth. Like the moon, she was beginning to feel round and whole herself. Thanks, said Mina after the shadow of the olive tree had edged across their faces. For what? For helping me try my best.